Hello everybody, in this video I'm going to investigate how our package search paths are set up. They're controlled by three environment variables, and we'll see how they impact the search path. What matters is the order mostly. So here I have a Windows PowerShell. I'm running Windows and I'm running the Microsoft R server, but it doesn't really matter. I have a directory called rpaths, and there are three subdirectories in this path. I'll use one of them and its subdirectories to set up the different paths in R. So each of those directories contains two subdirectories called AAA and BBB. And so let's set up those environment variables. The first one is rlibs user. So we'll say this equals c rpaths user AAA followed by c rpaths user BBB. Okay, we can verify that the setting took effect, right? Semicolon is the separator for those paths according to the documentation. Similarly, we'll set the one for site. And finally the root, which is for rlibs. Okay. And now the next step is just to run a small R script and to see how our changes actually influenced the R search path. Oh, it's my R script is not set up, so let me add it to the path. Okay, and let's run again the same command. Here we go. Now, what are the observations? As you remember, each directory had two subdirectories, and the search order is as expected. The first one in each subdirectory precedes the other one. We have 7 entries. The last one is actually the server path itself. So if nothing else is specified, this is always there. This is pretty much always there. But now what is interesting here is I would have expected the user paths to be the first one in this list, because this list, when R searches for a package, it starts with the first element in the path, and as soon as it finds a package in this path, the package is loaded from there and the search finishes. In other words, what we are seeing here is that whatever was set under r_libs is actually what will be found first, where R will look first. Then comes the user, finally comes the site, and if nothing else works, it searches in the server path. Now, again, the only surprising thing is rlibs, that it's searched there. But it doesn't usually have a lot of effect, because I would assume that setting rlibs user and rlibs site is usually sufficient for most setups. In fact, if you don't specify any of these variables, where are packages going to be installed? Well, typically you don't have access to the server library path. Usually it's installed by administrator, so we don't have access there. So what will happen if nothing else is specified? It used to be like that in R, if I remember correctly. Basically, when I try to install the package, the installation will fail. To avoid that and make things simpler, I'm not sure how much better the new approach is. What R did was actually to add a default directory. So let's say none of those three variables is specified. If we run out our script, you will see an additional path, a newly created path under this directory was added, and it's actually right now empty because it didn't exist before, and any install package will go here. This way, it's easy to install packages even if the user hasn't done any changes. But as soon as you try to follow what's going on, you might be in for some surprises. Let's say you install a new R version. I think this directory is going to change, and all of a sudden you are like, where are all my packages. So the only thing that I usually do is I set up rlibs user on my system to some directory that I define, and that way I avert those troubles. So my packages always go to the same location. Last, while we're on Windows, just to mention something quickly, it is in the documentation, but I actually found it quite surprising, and I spent quite a bit of time on it, because as most people, I read the documentation when things really don't work. If you have a trailing slashes, the claim is that this is not a valid Windows path, and probably that's the case. But what happens is, see, let's set just rlibs user with a path containing a trailing slash at the end. Now see what's happening. Not only that my path is not added, as we can see, we have a single entry in the list. Remember, before that, when we had a valid, like we didn't have any variable setup, we had this default path added to the list. But right now, even the default path is not there. So just keep it in mind in case you're handling packages, although I don't think most users will actually hit that. I hope this makes sense, and until the next video.